All right, all right, all right. Welcome.
Hi.
Okay, so we got Trump. I guess he's been arrested. Did he actually get arrested?
Yeah, he turned himself in, and they did the whole court proceeding thing. They did the whole. I don't know if he's. I think he's out now. I think he got arrested officially to do the whole,
The
uh,
show.
yeah, perp walk type thing again. I think
Yeah.
he also avoided perp walk again because of his Secret Service detail and things, and so, um, yeah, they really, really, really want to get the pictures of him with the cuffs on, though. They really, really want that.
Oh, I'll bet. I think they've had AI stuff being
Oh
generated
yeah, they
for it.
have. Where he's like, "You're never gonna take me alive," type of pictures.
Yeah, him running away from the cops and all that stuff. It's wild. Um, I listened. You sent me the Ben Shapiro thing. I think I probably got maybe like halfway through it, and I think for the most part I got the gist of it.
Yeah,
Um, I
because
guess
he broke it.
what
I
do you
think he
think
did a
about it?
really good job. Anyone that is even not conservative, um, I, I think he does a really good job of breaking things down,
And
logically,
providing context.
and yes, and providing context. Like even like a lot of times he'll even say something that is like like during his arguments and breakdowns. So like even if you don't believe this is a thing that you should care about. So like this is another reason why you should care about it, or things like that. There's like he tries to be, he's a conservative guy, but he tries to break it down in a very, very
Neutral way.
neutral-ish. Yeah.
It from what I gathered from that whole thing, it was very neutral.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that at least I don't know how it went the second half of it or whatever, or what his
I mean, the whole
conclusion
show
was.
wasn't completely about it. It was most of the show, but he went to other stuff. So you might have gotten to a gist of it. The
Yeah,
the breakdown, the nitty gritty small part of it is basically Trump was on recordings saying things that directly counter the
contradict.
arguments that he was posing in public. So he's not really protected anymore from those arguments he was using before. And
Right.
and Ben Shapiro then compared the stuff, ran through timeline of all the different things that I said he did and whatever else, and then he compared them to Hillary Clinton and how, and said like, well, but Comey said it's the same type of thing. Like if Comey said you shouldn't do it here, then you should also not do it here. You can't just have a banana republic where you just throw the people in jail that are not in the elite, in power at the time. So that was the whole
So
breakdown of the thing. He's saying like they shouldn't do anything about this. Yes, there's things that he did improperly and he shot himself in the foot big time.
yeah,
Um,
he
yeah,
shot himself in the face.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
from what I kind of got from it, it's such a weird thing to me because I feel like it's like, okay, he shot himself in the face but missed, right? And what I mean by that is like, okay, he did things, he didn't do things right. He could like he didn't even need to go through this process. Like had he just given up the documents and all that stuff, it would have been like, all right, it's here you go, and he would have avoided all of this mess.
But he wanted the documents because he wanted them.
You know,
And so
honestly,
that's what
when
he's
I
saying.
heard him,
Because I
okay, so
want them.
here's something that I thought was really interesting and kind of almost felt overlooked is that he had documents that were classified, right? That said, here's our plan to go to war with Iran.
Yeah.
And he's telling this journalist guy, can you believe this? This is absolute insanity. We have our military, we have people. This wasn't me. This was the other guy, right? Obama. This was potentially, maybe Bush, who knows, but this wasn't me, but there were plans to go to war with Iran. Can you believe that? Now you're not supposed to hear this. You're not supposed to know this. This is top secret. I could have declassified it, but I didn't, and I don't have the power to anymore. So this is secret.
Right.
And so everybody's really like, ooh, he was talking about classified ads. To me, I'm looking at it like, there you have it right there. We have presidents who are actively aiming and trying to go to war with Iran. Like, to me, that is a way bigger deal personally. That's a bigger
Yeah,
deal. Now,
for sure.
if we want to take that, which I think most everybody does, and they want to just take that and they want to set it aside and they want to put it in a box and shove it in a dark corner and forget about it, and they would just want to say, "Oh, well, those are top secret, and he shouldn't be saying that," and that's hypocritical because Hillary Clinton, she did all these email things, and Trump got on him about this. Like, to me, a lot of that stuff is just petty. Like, when I think about all of the information that Trump actually had access to and that what he was holding and all of that stuff, like, personally, it's completely inconsequential to me. It's not something like, was he in the wrong? Did he shoot himself in the face? Did he cause this problem for himself? Did he blah blah blah? Sure.
So
Sure. Do I really care? Especially when you have Biden, who effectively did the same exact thing. When you have Hillary,
right,
who
there is
effectively
that.
did
There
the same
definitely
exact
is
thing.
that, and the fact that every sitting president that we know of in recent history
Has
has
done
had these
this.
type of documents, and they've been talking to their gardener that they've had for 30 years about different
Yeah.
things. And so, like, yes, it's wrong and it shouldn't be done. It should be tidier. It shouldn't be a thing. But like, you can't target Trump for this. But I will
Yeah.
argue on the devil's advocate for the Iran war plan.
Go for it.
Um, I think it's prudent and stated policy that they create contingency scenarios for everything, and they go into detail. They create
This didn't
committees
sound like a
that do like
contingency.
6 months of planning and saying, okay, so let's say we have to go to war with Iran. What's the best way to do it? What's the best way not to do it? What's all the kind of stuff? So they could do with that with everybody. So like they decide with any possible threat type of thing. Like, all right, Somalia, what are the best and worst case scenarios for what if we have to do this? What do we have to do that? So there are people that do that non-exhaustively in the State Department. They have
War
committees that
games.
do things, right? They do that constantly. So I don't know if these documents are just one of those things or not. So I'm just arguing devil's advocate.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, what it sounds like to me, and then when you can, if you have the ability to contextualize it with things that and one of the generals, I can't remember his name right now. There's a video of him. Who?
Petraeus?
No. He's from like Obama's administration, I think. He also ran for president as a Democrat.
Oh yes, not Colin. Dang it, Colonel something.
He maybe the name will pop in my head at some point, but he was talking about how so one of his, like, one of the not a courier, but like some important person who delivers messages, who kind of communicates between entities of information, bodies, right? He came and he was like, "Oh yeah, we've got plans to invade Iraq, Syria, Somalia, or like Iran, Afghanistan." And there was like 6 or 7 of them or whatever, right? And this was like under the Obama administration. And he was like, and he's like, "Well, why?" He's like, "I have no idea." And then he comes back later and he's like, "So you got an update for me? What's going on?" He's like, "Yeah, it's even worse. We've added more people that were," or whatever the situation was. And it's just kind of like, okay, this doesn't sound like, when you take that context and you kind of link it to what Trump is talking about, it's like, I don't think that these are plans. These are contingencies, and these are war games of like, if we had to go to war with Iran, this is how we would go about it. Like, this more sounds like a plan
Trying to
to
engineer
go
a way to be able to get
war.
into war without taking political damage.
Yeah, and I mean these are top secret documents, and so we don't really know the
Right. You
finer
can't know
details of
more.
it.
Yeah.
But I think that it's at least worth a little bit of a wake up call to us, the people, to be like, hey, we should probably watch out. Like, if our country is talking about going to war with Iran, like, then this is probably like this is the foreshadowing for it. This is the warning for it, and we should probably be like, maybe this isn't really on the up and up. Maybe we are just actively trying to fuel the war machine in order for world dominance or whatever it is that we're trying to do.
And I'm sure there are some people that use the war game scenarios as a way of communicating certain possibilities or tactics also, meaning like, so we had this one idea that if we did this, that this might be an approach we would take. So I think there might be some sort of application here today. If we wanted to get away with this, if we wanted to somehow win the propaganda war in this subtle way, we
Sure.
could get away with this. So like, yeah, so it's incestuous conversation within themselves about like these are all the pie in the sky stuff, but then at the same time it's like
That's a
they are really
possibility.
talking about it, and so they're really, so it is things that they can implement and put into place because they can see how advantageous it is, so they put all the work into it.
Like it's like stacking the deck before it happens.
Yeah.
But if you're stacking the deck before it happens, then chances are you're actually pushing for it to happen.
Yes,
Right?
exactly. And this is precisely what I talk about with my perception of the world and how it operates. It's that you kind of make things true because
You speak it into
yeah, you
existence.
speak into existence type of thing. So I kind of think that's how, when I'm saying the hierarchy, how you just have all these people that have their own motives at hand, and they have to one up all these other people that are playing the same game. So it turns into corruption and madness at the highest degree, and we get into war.
Sure.
So that's my argument with that. So I think it's at all levels. But yeah, I just threw that back to the other conversation is all.
Sure. I guess another thing with all surrounding all this Trump kind of stuff and all this. I mean, for the most part, I think that we can probably all, and I think that you'd be pretty dishonest to disagree. Like, this is a political hit job.
Yep.
Like,
Oh yeah.
this is, and I think that what people should be concerned about, I don't care where you are on the spectrum of things. There's like a level of, there's so much corruption. And this is kind of where I feel like it ends up getting really difficult. Because I in a sense kind of have a double standard here, in that like it's so clear to me that this is a political hit job, but it's the political hit job that's being done on Trump. It has to end, it has to stop, and it has to be defeated, and it has to be publicly defeated, I think. And so where the double standard kind of comes in is like, okay, well, how do you publicly defeat it? Well, you'd have to have somebody in office to effectively prosecute and work on dismantling all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And setting an example. And so right now, I mean, it could almost be like, well, we're setting the example of how things need to be, and we're setting it against Trump because Trump is such a bad guy. But when you have situations like what's happening with Joe Biden and him receiving all of this money from these foreign places, I mean, there's with him and Hunter, and the other people, and like the classified documents and all this stuff of that, like he has a ton of stuff that he's already guilty of. Trump has already he's more or less been through the ringer multiple times, and nothing has necessarily landed. And so, but Joe Biden is kind of scooching away free of any real attention. And I think that that's what kind of separates the two.
Yeah.
Is that
It's
when
all
you
political.
have, it's all political, but when you have someone like Trump, who's like really a victim of political persecution, right? And who has I'm not opposed to saying it, but like who has committed crimes in the sense of these documents, right? But then on the other side, you have Biden, who has more actual crimes that they're refusing to even really truly investigate, and he's kind of the one that's leading the charge, and he's also guilty of holding classified documents, and he knows that this just happened with like, okay, here's as a little bit of an example, is like, it's not like they didn't, like the FBI and all those people didn't know that Joe Biden had tons of boxes that were located in his garage in Delaware and Pennsylvania, and they were spread all over the place, right?
Yep.
Like, it's not as if they didn't know about those things, and they didn't, and then they,
that stuff.
So it's like, because those things all just came out
fixed
very shortly after.
Yeah, and they just dealt with it, and they just summarily dismissed it. And the same thing with Pence is now they found documents for him and they dismissed it. So it's all done and resolved. It's not resolved with Trump because the timing of it.
Because they're prosecuting him. That's why.
The timing of it has been on purpose to be now.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, I'm sure after this one, because this one's not gonna end up throwing him in jail. Like, if they actually threw him in jail, I mean,
one where they
just be.
Yes,
it would be absolutely
crazy.
He'd
be a president-elect from prison and then pardon himself.
Yeah, I mean, he probably.
Which would be
I mean, I think people probably would vote for him.
Yeah,
if he were in prison, just to get him out.
There are plenty of laws that basically limit prisons from being able to stop him from speak or be at a communication or do presidential duties.
Yeah, or even running election interference.
Or even if he's even if he's a nominee, if he's the Republican nominee, I think that they can't restrict him from communicating and doing whatever. So I think that would be quite interesting. And it's not like they'd put him in the dirtiest jail cell. It would be in some sort of federal court building where it's Secret Service is available at all times, and he still probably eat whatever food he wanted. It would be stupid.
House arrest.
Maybe they do that.
You just put him in house arrest if that's that. Whatever the minimum length of the minimum thing. If you're gonna put Ghislaine Maxwell in, isn't she in effectively house arrest?
Yeah, so
she's basically on
disappeared.
Lifetime.
No one can talk about her anymore. There are too many high-powered people that
she's not in like a federal prison though, right? Or is she?
Don't know.
We don't even know. She's just vanished.
I'm sure we do know somewhere, but it's not been in the news for so long that I don't know.
I guess I don't know either. I guess last I heard, I'm under the impression that she's just basically like, you are living the rest of your life in this house and you don't get to go anywhere. You're just stuck here, is effectively what my impression was. But I could be completely wrong. Maybe she is in
a whole island she could go live on.
No. I know, right? But with all this Trump stuff, it's kind of like where the double standard kind of comes in, is like, if Trump does get elected, like, in order to prevent this stuff from happening again, you effectively need like a rehaul of the whole system. You need effectively a new FBI. You need a new CIA, and he would need to like appoint people from the outside and set up other systems to kind of say, look, here's a third party resource that looks into.
He needs to appoint like farmers and truck drivers and salt to the earth people just
Yeah,
go in here
honestly,
and
like appoint
go in here
me,
and be
you
the
know,
moral compass.
like appoint somebody who's just going to be able to say that's not an okay thing to do. Like that's all that we really need is just like, I mean, it's almost like if somebody went and they ran on that, like their slogan would be, that's not okay. And they would just be, that's their whole thing is to just
Kind of
point
like
out,
Google and don't be evil, which they are evil now.
yeah. And so it's like, you just need somebody who is detached from ego, who's detached from um monetary whatever. And maybe you could even say like, hey, look, if you do the job and you can just and you go after these people, you'll get a fat paycheck. Like we'll give you a fat paycheck. But if you're corrupt, if you play into this system, you're not getting squat, right? Like I don't know how they would set it up, but it's like remove a lot of the incentive and more just find somebody to just go in there and say, we're not gonna tolerate this kind of nonsense, because if you guys are going around with attempting political hit jobs and you're trying to, like, if you have the FBI who we now know for 100% fact, because there's video of it, of office of FBI agents, undercover FBI agents at the January 6th protest, who are saying, go in, go, 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 go.
Yep.
When you have those people who are going and helping to incite people to break the law, that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge problem. And I saw this other thing where it was like you could have FBI agents in who are inserting themselves into these groups of people that they think might be extremists, but they don't know that they're agents. So you can have like 2 or 3 or even 4 agents who don't even know
Yeah.
that each other is an agent, and there's like 2 or 3 or 4 people within that group that are just regular people, and they start creating and egging on all of this situation, so that they then go out and they aim to commit this crime. And it's like that's basically what happened with the Whitmer case. Is you had like 4 people who were basically just talking shit, and then you had like 4 agents who were pushing them and telling them, hey, let's go do this, let's do this. And they were kind of like, I don't know, but they've built this camaraderie or whatever, and they're like, I mean, okay, like I guess we'll go, I guess. And they just kind of go with the flow, because they've created this bond or whatever. And it's like, but it's all a sham. It's like that kind of stuff, that's not okay. You shouldn't be trying to get your own people to commit crimes and inciting them and encouraging them to go commit crimes. I think that's just an awful thing for them to do. So I think that if Trump does manage to get in, he's going to end up being like, we're wiping all this stuff. We're wiping all this stuff out.
You know what? I think the most important part about this time around, that if Trump is able to get past his unfavorables, because it's all baked in. So he has a lot of supporters, but he has a lot of not supporters. And so
But if
if he's
he's the
able to,
president,
right, what I'm saying is if he's able
screw the
I
non-supporters.
only worry about him getting reelected because of all the unfavorables, where some people just hate him so much that even certain Republicans just wouldn't vote for him. But if he does get in, I think he's going to have the support of the establishment this time to get some of the stuff he's talking about done, because before he was being resisted on the wall on everything was being resisted against. And
I think that the establishment Republicans would be effectively forced to continue to play along. Yeah, you're muted. I think they would effectively be forced to play along. I don't know what you're doing here. Fixing something up. But anyways, yeah, I don't think, no, you got to hit the unmute it. I don't know what's happening right now. He's doing something. Well, let's fill the air. Let's fill the air. What was I talking about? It's so much easier when I'm talking to somebody rather than a microphone. Yeah, I guess what Trump would end up having to do is let's go in and try to clean house. I don't think that he would be a friend of the establishment. I think that the people who would have concerns are the people who are establishment, who are breaking the law. Yeah, I can't hear you. I mean, it's muted. I don't know what you did. Hit the button. Did you hit the button? There you go.
Software muted.
Yeah, you were
cord out of the back of the computer.
Oh, that's what happened, huh? Okay.
So I was the whole time. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, as far as the establishment goes, like, I think he'll have the support of the establishment Republicans, but I think that it would mostly be because, and maybe even the establishment Democrats, if not for the only reason that they would cooperate is to not be investigated, right? Because he would have the power and ability to say, hey, I'm directing you guys to go investigate this person. I'm going to direct this person to go investigate these guys. Like, I want investigations and I want discovery. I want to figure out what the hell is going on with Schiff. I want to know what's going on with Pelosi. I want to know what's going on with all these people, even FBI Director Wray, everybody.
So, I mean, that's a little bit. I mean, none of those people are going to participate.
It's not that they wouldn't have a choice, right? Because if he has the power and ability to say, I control these investigatory
arms,
bodies, these arms, I can direct them to do investigations on X, Y, Z.
But because there are like 10,000 people that are involved, how many
get a big team?
So like you have to replace like 10,000 people. That would almost even take like.
Well, it doesn't have to be. You start somewhere. You start somewhere and you say, okay, let's start with Schiff. Let's start with Pelosi.
Yeah, Schiff, man. Schiff.
I mean, really, I feel like Schiff is probably one of the first people that you start with.
Yes,
right?
I mean,
you just pick the top brass and then you trickle down from there. That's really what you do. And honestly, one day I hope that Elon Musk runs for president.
He can't because he's from South America.
Nope, he's American, and then he moved to South America. He lived through his childhood in South America. He's born American in the U.S. Yes, he is an American. He is eligible to become president. Not that it's something that he wants to do, but I think he has a way of figuring out, like,
2002 he became a citizen. So he was born in Pretoria, South Africa.
Oh.
And yeah,
damn, so maybe he can't.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So it says he became a citizen in 2002 after moving the country in 1995. Initially intended to study.
Use him as a tool then. Use him as a tool. Like, get this guy on.
I mean, he's the only one. He's the only one because he's like a liberal that would vote for it in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Because he's a rational liberal. He's just
he's hoping to be. He has good in his heart, even if some of the ideas I wouldn't like. He actually has good in his heart. Some of these other ideas are just all about.
It's goofy. He's got a lot of goofy shit.
Yeah,
sure.
I like it. I like it. So Trump was in there, and today there was another story about nothing. There's like one about a train wreck or something that is like it seemed like a truck crash or something. Like this is really all about Trump today, honestly, in the news. It was
or there's this whole story with Starbucks and
yes,
the
that's
Pride.
right.
So Starbucks and the Pride, it's there's rumors which are being denied by Starbucks that they are removing Pride flags and Pride stuff from their
Displays
shops.
in their stores
Displays.
after the first couple of days. So there have been pictures and collages taken through from various sources throughout America showing that hey, after a couple of days these are coming down, and the guessing is because of the whole woke Target and Bud Light situation that they're like, you know what, we celebrate a couple of days, let's just back off on it, let's just try to keep our noses clean, but they're denying it.
I mean, so like, okay, as far as I can care, I don't care if Starbucks is removing them or not. It doesn't matter to me. But I think that what has been interesting is that a lot of these companies, I remember last year, the year before that, the year before that, and a decade before that, all of these companies, what they would do is they would change their icon to some rainbow icon. Throughout the entire month of Pride, and I noticed that those companies are not doing that anymore. They're just kind of backing off from it, and
it's because it's been weaponized, and it's not Pride isn't as innocent as it once was, and it's almost like are you gonna this year you're gonna have a rainbow on your cup, or are you gonna have a man bent over getting railed by a woman or something like that? Is that going to be a logo on your cup this year? It's almost like it could be. You don't know. It's gotten.
You don't know what's really going on, and I've been watching. It kind of comes up on my timeline of in Twitter of just like, here's some stuff that's happening at Pride events, and it's crazy. Mm-hmm. It's like Pride isn't like Pride Month has nothing to do with gay people anymore. It has nothing to do with them anymore, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, it's a queer revolution.
It's not even. I don't even know if it's what it's about now.
The idea of queer is something they embrace. It's like there's just queerness. There's like this
queerness is ambiguous. It's just kind of like
this empowerment mode of embracing sexuality and whatever else. And so that is what's taken over the whole thing of where like sex is the center of life, and
but I don't think
must be out there.
I don't think that queer represents it accurately enough. I think that because queer is just, it's very ambiguous, and it's just kind of like, hey, I'm different, right? But it's kind of like, well, what kind of different are you? And so when what we're seeing is we're seeing trans women going out in these skimpy things, and they're twerking as they go down the streets. When we have some guy and he's got a dildo strapped to his leg, and somebody else comes up and he starts sucking on it, and it's kind of like, and then he goes off and he's like, that was great, I loved it, and that's literally what he does. And then you have somebody else who's bare ass, and somebody's like Chapped. Slapping him with a little flail kind of thing or whatever, or like a whip thingy, that's got all the little things on it, or it's just, or pup play. You've got these people
dressed as dogs,
dressed in dog dog bondage gear. It's bondage gear, and they're walking around like this, and they're like talking to kids and doing all this stuff, and it's like none of this stuff has anything to do with gay. Like, I remember when Pride parades were people just dressing up in rainbow colors and having these big floats, and they'd be waving flags.
You'd have people that were in
and
the
they'd be playing music.
Yeah,
and
and there'd be
dancing.
people that are in the community that happen to be gay, like firefighters and everybody, and they'd be out
Yeah.
there in their regular uniform, like it used to be like saying, "Hey, we are like everybody else.
Yeah.
We just have a different sexual whatever
And here
proclivity."
we get to let loose kind of a
Right.
thing, but them letting loose wasn't like bondage gear.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was more like a parade that was appropriate for everybody as far as dress goes. And it's just kind of like to a kid, I would imagine that they would more or less, like to some ignorant kid who doesn't know anything about it, they're probably just sitting there thinking rainbows, yay, like, and it's not really that intrusive.
Unfortunately, I heard some audio clips on whose podcast, the LGBTQ crusader, Matt Walsh, thank you.
Mhm.
Um uh, these clips of these kids saying ultra woke things and understanding and saying that, well, it's just because sometimes and they're like they're interviewing all the different kids that are at this event and ask different questions, and they're able to articulate almost better than
Many
the people
adults.
themselves. I'm like, oh God, no. They're
Yeah.
being successful in their own homes doing this indoctrination to these kids. It's so frustrating that they can.
Look, if they want to do it in their own homes, if
I
parents want to
still don't
teach their
approve.
kids this stuff,
I
then
still don't approve.
you may
It's like
not
child
approve of it,
abuse.
but they have the right to do it.
Yeah, I know.
But when you take it out into society and you start parading it around in front of people, I think that people are going to have a problem with it. And so I think that we've kind of reached a point, when you took, I mean, Dylan Mulvaney and Bud Light, I think that was kind of the catalyst that kind of broke the camel's back. And I know that now, like, Call of Duty is going through it because they're like, because one of their guys, like a Nick Merckx, I think it
Yep.
was, who was
Millions and
like,
millions of
just leave
viewers.
the kids alone. Like, let kids be kids. Like, you don't need to be
And then they
teaching them all this
canceled
stuff.
they had like a bundle pack that was his name, and
Yeah.
they canceled a lot of stuff with it. And so he basically dropped, he's not using them anymore. He can go with somebody else. But yeah, so hopefully that takes a toll. I think that was was that Twitch that was doing that to him, or was that YouTube that was doing that to him?
It was Call of Duty that was doing it.
Oh, right. But there was
He
more.
posted it on Twitter. He just posted that on Twitter, and then I don't think he suffered any other consequences other than his thing being removed.
So I heard a little bit more than that there was something where, because he streamed on Twitch sometimes and on YouTube sometimes, and he switched, and then he switched back, partially because of this whole controversy. I don't know the details.
I guess
but
I'm not
there's
as
more
up
than
to
just
date.
that. There's more than what was just posted there. We just don't know because he plays the Call of Duty and we don't, and that's where he's popular.
Yeah.
But I think I heard Matt Walsh talk about that today, actually, or from a show from Monday.
It's it's interesting. I've heard people say, who are usually in an older generation. They say, well, it's like a pendulum. It swings one way and then it always swings back.
That's a really good way to never do anything about anything. Could you say, well, it'll come back?
Yeah,
I don't have to do anything.
That was my
It'll
thought
come
too.
back.
I was like, you should at least be aware of what's happening so that when the pendulum swings and it's like going to the extreme left, you're not over on the extreme left, and you can be like, hey, these guys are going crazy. Like, at least you can have that cognitive sense to say, this is absolutely
You at least
crazy.
need to understand why, so that you can maybe tweak things a little bit different next time, so it doesn't swing as far. Or
and then when it
something,
swings the other way, it's like you don't want to just be on the opposite end being like, these guys are absolutely crazy, but these guys were okay when they were doing it. Like, you don't want to be that person. You want to be the guy that's like, okay, these guys it's swinging way over here. That's crazy. And then when it swings the other way, you'd be like, that over there, that's crazy. So that you're at least like the sane person.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing is the whole Overton window concept has happened to where
Yeah.
Everything has shifted to the left, including Republicans, to where
That's how they do it.
I am an extremist because I have traditional values that have been around forever. Like, it's not like I'm not. I don't believe in, like, I don't want to have militia and start fighting against the government, not pay taxes, and that's what you should put over in the extremist area when you have these people that are complete, like, militia,
Right.
like the government should control me, and they're completely whatever that. But like that is not even, that's just lumped in with me and with you. You are also in that, even though you are not as far right as I am. But like,
I'm quite moderate, honestly.
yeah.
I'm
So
basically a 90s
the
Democrat.
pendulum in Elon Musk did a tweet about, a couple years ago, showing of where he stands. And where's I don't know how to do this with the camera. Where he shows where he stands, and then where the left is and where the right is.
And then they've
And
moved.
he's the same
so
thing, but now he's a
far
conservative
off.
because it moved. It moved, but now he's a conservative.
Yeah.
It's like he's always been for the same type of ideas, but now he's a conservative, and that's kind of where you lie is that you're more conservative because everything shifted to. I mean, you also changed with your little bit of outlook with how you perceive things, with truth and things, and finding like who was lying to you. And
I got better at detecting stuff and then deciphering it, and then placing my values in more, like, prioritizing my values.
Yeah,
is what I got better at. But it was more like I was always on a search to find somebody who could do the things that I valued the most, right? And I just got disappointed, and I was just like, oh,
yeah,
this sucks. Like, when Obama came in, I was like, I had such high hopes, but you just did the same things. And then Trump got in, and I was like absolutely blown away, because the things that I felt were the most important, war, he actually managed to do exactly what I wanted him to do. Even though I at times I was very fearful, because when he would say things like, I'll bomb the crap out of you.
I think you need to say it, and you need to
North
mean
Korea.
it in a lot of ways. And then
he got the job done.
Yeah,
and he got the results that I wanted to see. Is exactly like that. I couldn't have asked for anybody to do any more. My expectations were like, I figured, hey man, I mean, there's going to be at least one war, or there's going to be at least one engagement. There's going to be some kind of like new thing that we're going to be jumping into. But he just stopped all of it. He basically just stopped all of it. And so there's nothing more that I could have asked for.
Yeah,
based off of what I value the most.
Yep, that's true. I mean, that did it for a lot of people.
I wish that they had, like, the media had picked up on that stuff, and like I wish that other people cared about that stuff more. And it's weird because it bothers me so much. Like, I get bothered when people are like, Trump is a racist. Trump did this and Trump did that. He said this. He said that people should drink bleach. He poured a bunch of
bleach thing.
He's a white supremacist. Like, and I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm like, this isn't even true, for one. And then, even if it was true, he got us into 0 new wars. He brought peace and built relationships with other nations that people thought were not possible. And so you give a shit about this kind of stuff? I don't understand. Like, where are your values? Where
and as I've mentioned before, they're called the Abraham Accords towards the end of his presidency, or in the useful before COVID, and during COVID he was developing relations with countries that would never even acknowledge that Israel existed through financial incentives, which the only way they were proposing peace in the past, the only way that the John Kerrys of the world were trying to, the only way it can be done is through a Palestinian state. a Palestinian state and this type of thing. This is the solution. This is the Holy Grail solution. Both sides agree on this certain things, and this is the way. And everyone fought against the whole way. Nobody liked it. They tried to do things. Yasser Arafat backed out on the most probable version of that, and then Trump goes to do it through the financial way and getting people recognized and using airspace and trading goods and all that kind of stuff. And they got past so many hurdles that were non-existent for many, many years. So that is what Abraham Accord accomplished. Yeah. And that's what it's still there in some senses, in some ways, because there were some beneficial relationships that Israel or the other countries have not wanted to lose out on. Let's say, for instance, advanced microchips that Israel can produce. They've been trading with some of the other countries around there for their like fridges and whatever, all sorts of things. There's things that Israel can offer that have been given, including So that's why it's still in place. But there's not support at the executive level right now because Trump put them in place, and so hopefully. Yeah. What happened? They can be preserved until Trump gets back and improved upon, and then maybe we can add Saudi Arabia to that list, which would be.
I mean, I think that it's kind of like the last shot for like actual true, like world peace.
Right.
I think he has the best shot, the Holy Grail, producing world peace than anybody else.
Yeah.
DeSantis, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. RFK, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Like. Trump just has this level of a personality. People have already worked with him. They can already see his actual goals and they can see his results, and they actually take him seriously.
I'm on board with Trump going and doing all that stuff. I just will say, of course, that even though DeSantis is a politician type and he's calculated and he's not as refreshing as the type of Trump personality and type of get it done type of attitude, I do think that DeSantis does really well at following a plan or following things that work. And so like seeing something that works, like if Trump was something in play, like something before, it's like, you know what, he did this, we're going to build upon this and you get the right people. And I think he has like the business acumen to kind of get systems in place to make this happen, as opposed to Trump is more of a bully pulpit thing than hopefully all the other guys put it together. Like I think that Trump is more of a, he says stuff and he goes stuff and he communicates and he puts big ideas through and he does things, and then his people have to figure out, okay, what are we going to do with this? What are we going to do with this? I kind of feel like it's like that with Trump a bit, because he's not really. It's not like he's the micromanaging director, and I feel like DeSantis is more the like he can take this and demand the plan. All right, you guys talk about it, bring me your ideas and blah blah. Yeah. I feel like he's like that. I feel like even though yes, he's not the same type of personality as Trump, I think that he can be a good executor. I think he can be a good implementation. It's just a matter of how his compass is on different ideas, and it's just hard to tell.
And I guess I'm not in disagreement, but the one thing that I would just want to say is that, like, I've heard that so many times that this is the person who is good. They have this skill set. They would be able to do these things, and then they get into office and they just don't. They just do the exact same crap as the previous guy before them did. And Trump was literally the only person who ever managed to get, I mean, I could almost say like, God, I mean, it feels like 100 times more accomplished, 100 times more in actual things that got done. I think that Trump did like 100 times more than any president. I think that in the value of what Trump got done, I think is like 100 times more than any other president. Like, it was astonishing because I followed him every day and I could see everything that he was doing every day. Yeah, I follow Biden. Biden
the one
hardly
thing
does anything.
Yeah. He has the one thing, and they close the door. They close the lid. They call it, I think. Close the lid at 10 a.m. It's like almost 9 10 a.m. They close the lid. That means
there's nothing.
More interviews.
There's like, I have no sense of accomplishment that comes out of his administration. Zero. Like, all that it ever is like there was a battle on the debt ceiling, and then the deal got made, and it's kind of like, yeah, well, that happens every
or we're gonna do some sort of ribbon cutting. we're gonna do a ribbon
Yeah,
cutting at some sort of event about some gay pride or something. Like those are the type of events that he does. So he does things that are just fluff and that are
it's
not really
fluff.
advancing
Not that
anything.
Trump didn't do fluff. Trump did
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of
Trump does
fluff
fluff
too.
too. Yeah, for sure.
He did a lot of fluff, but at the same time, I mean, a lot of his fluff was actually meaningful. Like when he did the funding for the HBCUs, like
Yep.
that was meaningful. When he did something where it was I don't even know the context of it, but he did this whole thing where he brought in people who were new citizens, um, and they had passed the test, and they had like kind of they talked about their struggle and how they waited for like 12 years to get in, and then and so he's kind of I mean, it's total fluff because it's like, look, you're just all you're doing is just propping these people up, and you're promoting them to say, hey, these are the people that did it right. But it's like, that's an important, even in that's an important thing. I mean, when Trump just kind of goes to the Air Force to hand out medals, it's kind of like, okay, you went to the Air Force to hand out medals. Not that Trump never did something like that too, but like, what the hell has Biden done that was as meaningful as funding HBCUs, as meaningful as creating opportunity zones? Like, what is he, or the Abraham Accords? Like, what has Biden done that's even remotely as all that Biden's ever done, as far as I can tell, is he's taken a victory against the Republicans. Like, that's it. It's just, oh, what has he done? Well, he
I won.
negotiated the debt ceiling. He got something passed within his Build Back Better, and it's kind of like,
The
okay,
IRA
like,
Act, the Make Ryan Rich Eventually Act.
yeah, it's I mean, a lot of it is I just don't feel it. I don't feel anything that he does. Um, all that I can feel really is my gas filling my gas tank. It used to be $30. Now it's 45.50. My grocery bill used to be like $150. Now it's like $250. Like, everything is just more expensive.
Yeah.
And what's it all for? And when he tells me, oh, you know what? You're going to have to suffer so that we can maintain a democracy over in Ukraine. Meanwhile, we're dumping $170+ billion over into fueling this war
Yep.
that we should not be fueling. And it's like, and so then on top of our money having to pay for our daily lives and the cost of all of that skyrocketing, not only that, and we have a broken healthcare system, we've got broken all education system, crappy schools, crappy roads, we've got all this Build Back Better. Well, that $170 billion could have gone a long way in fixing our healthcare system and funding it, in helping out the veterans. It could have gone a long way in all kinds of things, the roads, the schools, everything. We could have actually rebuilt our entire country damn
I
near.
think it would have been more useful to use that $170 billion as confetti over a parade somewhere.
It would have been better.
Yes.
It would have been better. Yeah. Just, hey, you know what?
Just
Make a
not
make a
spending it would have
big
been better.
bomb, make a big bomb and blow it up over the entire United States so that all the money just comes fluttering down, and it's just a cash grab. That's all it is. Hey, if you can grab this money, then you're good, you know? And it's like, and that's our tax dollars. And where does all that money go? Because here's a huge problem, right? Is that was money that we spent on our military equipment. And so then all of that military equipment gets shoved out, it gets sent away, given away to another country, and then we now have to rebuild our military. So our tax dollars just get given away, and then now our new tax dollars is just funneling into more military stuff, which lines the pockets of the people who benefit from these wars and the military complex. I mean, it's just like, but you know what? Nobody seems to give a shit. Nobody seems to care.
Unfortunately,
and you know why?
okay.
I think the reason that nobody cares is because it's their guy that's doing it.
Sure, except you're talking about the talking head people and also the politically activated, but the regular plebs, they
Don't
just
even
don't
know
know.
about
There's
it.
just too much. There's too much to know.
They don't even. That's what I mean.
As
They
you have
don't
more and
even
more
care.
population, as more and more population, you have more specialties that people branch out into. We have more advantages and more cool things in life, but people know less and less about core
Yeah,
plumbing or anything that
it's
would
ignorance.
normally need in your life. You don't know about this. Of course, you don't understand the politics, especially since politics is also bifurcated into many different things
Yep.
you'd have to know about and think about. So not to completely blame the 70% of people that are just plebs that don't know anything.
Yeah.
I mean, but at the same time,
It's hard to
there needs to
blame
be
them
some more civic
necessarily.
duty. Needs to be instilled more civic duty. The idea that, hey, there's a certain level of understanding that you have to be involved in. You have to at least be involved in your your school boards at school or something. Like people need to have some level of understanding of that we are in a world that is not, we can't take it for granted for the things that we have. Like a republic, if you can keep it, from Benjamin Franklin back in the day, where
Yeah.
it seemed like that's what we got. So like the if you can keep it part is based upon the idea that it doesn't just, oh, we got a republic, cool, we have it forever now. No.
Yeah.
It's fighting. You have to constantly take care of things, just like your house doesn't clean itself.
Yeah.
If you want to live in a clean house, you have to vacuum, you have to clean your bathrooms, you have to do things on a regular basis, and you got to keep it up. And nobody's doing the upkeep. Everyone is just letting the political class have at it. And
Yep.
so everybody needs to be activated on some level. It doesn't have to be an activist, but it can be knowing what's going on in their school boards, attending meetings, or going to, or being part of city council or whatever, and just being aware of like, oh, when I'm voting for the person, voting for somebody, this is what they're doing. Oh, maybe I don't think like that anymore. So that people have some sort of level of understanding and contact. And so that's what's missing, is we don't have any. We it's all individuals. We're all individuals. We have our own little priority system. Whatever means whatever different things mean things to you than do to me, and everything is just as good. And
Yeah.
there's no connectiveness. We're all individuals, instead of like having some sort of United States feeling that they've tried to remove from us.
Yeah.
Anyhow, on that happy note,
All right. I think we'll end it there. That's a
yeah.
good spot to end it. If you made it this far, if you made it this far, drop a like. If you really liked what you saw, hit the subscribe button. And if you're looking forward to the next one, hit the bell. All right, you guys, take care.